Welcome to the Monday stream. I hope everyone's having an awesome Monday morning. Howdy, everybody. Hey, Astro. Hey, Madame Defarge. I'll be in ridiculous training all day, but I wanted to pop in quick to say hello. Well, hello. Good to have you here an hour early due to no DST. I'm on GMT time, the time of the world. Howdy. Was not aware of that. We've got quite the amount of headlines to go through. However, I think we can do it. Alright, let's just get everything going here. How was everybody's Halloween? I hope everyone had a pretty chill Halloween, or as some called it, Spookmas. I, for one, had a pretty chill Halloween. Happy Monday. It is indeed Monday, that's for sure. I avoid devil worship. It's not devil worship. Halloween, I believe, came from a pagan tradition to introduce the changing of the season, I believe. Oof. Hey, morning, morning. Where the emphasis on cemeteries and bloodlust? That's actually literally not how any of the original Halloween, which actually is a different name. There's actually a different name for it. I forget the actual name. Hold on. Samhain. Okay, so Halloween's origins date back to the ancient Celtic festival of Samhain. So yeah, it's to celebrate, I think, the changing of the changing the seasons, which of course the Christians believe that the barriers break down the summer connection between denizens of the other world. Stop it. To welcome in the harvest and usher in the dark half of the year, which is winter. Samhain was a Gaelic word and is usually celebrated from October 31st to November 1st to welcome in the harvest and usher the dark half of the year, which is the winter. In Christianity, we introduced All Hallows Eve. Yeah, you guys kind of... Well, I don't know if you're Christian, but the Christians kind of messed that up too. Hey, Alio. Hey, Skidded here. How's it going? I didn't know you streamed, by the way. Holy yikes, I didn't know that. Let me, get in a VIP. Oh, wait, I VIP'd you. Okay, cool. Make sure I got proper shoutouts. There we go. Alright, folks, we've got, quite the gauntlet. I made it in! Yes, you do. I wonder how witches and natural and supernatural madness got in there. Probably Christians messing things up. As usual. Indeed, you made it. I spent Halloween pretty chill, actually. I was very relaxed. My girlfriend carved a pumpkin. And yeah, that's it. That's our chill day. We carved the pumpkin, and grabbed a couple of stuff for the garden. Went to visit the parents. That's it. Trying to clean up the Presley video yesterday? What? Alright, folks. Let's see if we can run the gauntlet. I think that... we've got plenty to go through. So I think we should start that. Let's see. There is a climate change conference, the COP26 is going on right now. So maybe we'll tune into that from time to time. Let me see here. Alright. Oh, the video you tweeted. Gotcha. Howdy, howdy, Darknet. Hope you're feeling better. I'm hanging in there. After a week and I guess a couple of days, it is starting to subside, but nonetheless, I'm still very sketched out about that. So for those of you that don't know, for a while now, I was experiencing, I mean, like, I didn't really complain about it until it was just too much. Apparently some type of, I don't know, pinched nerve, whatever. I'm not a doctor. I'm not going to pretend that I know. But what I have kind of conjectured was that the sciatic nerve here triggered a massive pain that shot down all my throughout my right leg, and has been like that for over a week and a half. And finally, it seems like it's okay. I think the pain is now like at a sore kind of level that's like towards my lower leg. So thankfully it is subsiding, but nonetheless I still have to pay attention to it, because I don't know, that was an experience that I do not want to repeat. So yeah, I appreciate that, Darknet. Okay. It is, yeah, whew. Yeah, it was pretty awful. I think like at its apex, at its peak, it was very, very, very harsh. To the point where I was like, that's not good. Glad it's better. I forget that noise. True. Yeah, it was difficult to walk, so thankfully that's over. That part is over. Now I just have to be mindful. Be mindful, and I think that because and I told the chat last Saturday, I think. I think it's because my job is literally sitting for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours at a time. I think that may have caused that buildup. I think it wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility that me sitting down for hours and hours and hours at a time contributed to that. So yeah, we're gonna do our best to have quick stand-up breaks at least once every 2 hours or so, and yeah, let's see if that works. Forget that noise. True. All right, folks. We've got quite the gauntlet to run. In the meantime, we'll also have in between pop-ins for the Glasgow conference.
To the G7 countries, code red to the G.
Hey.
For those who have eyes to see, for those who have ears to listen, and for those who have a heart to feel, 1.5 is what we need to survive. 2 degrees, yes, SG, is a death sentence for the people of Antigua and Barbuda, for the people of the Maldives, for the people of Dominica and Fiji, for the people of Kenya and Mozambique, and yes, for the people of Samoa and Barbados. We do not want that dreaded death sentence. And we have come here today to say, try harder, because our people, the climate army, the world, the planet, needs our actions now, not next year, not in the next decade. Thank you.
True.
Bringing their message from their countries to COP, we will now hear from climate campaigners in Chile and Egypt.
Mi nombre es Isis Riquelme, activista climática, ecofeminista y estudiante de Geografía de Chile.
What?
Y
An
hoy les hablo
ecofeminist?
para que se escuche la voz de la juventud de Latinoamérica.
We must listen to the message. Oh, okay, so it is translated.
Mal porque hay
I was
una
gonna start to
pandemia. Hay
translate myself.
pandemias porque el mundo está mal. Hago un llamado a los líderes del mundo a que comprometan acciones concretas para detener la extinción de nuestras especies y de la humanidad. Hoy, los jóvenes alrededor del mundo hemos demostrado ser el presente a través de proyectos e ideas que aportan a mitigar y o adaptarse a la crisis climática. Es deber de todos los gobiernos escucharnos.
True.
Es nuestro futuro el que está en juego.
True.
Las niñas y jóvenes mujeres latinoamericanas albergan sueños e ideas del mañana. Nos hemos empoderado de nuestras capacidades y hemos avanzado en materia de educación socioambiental para enfrentar esta crisis.
True.
Los proyectos que los jóvenes impulsamos para abordar el cambio son un claro ejemplo de soluciones viables y concretas para entregar las herramientas necesarias para la adaptación y empoderar a nuestras comunidades a ser agentes de cambio a lo largo de los territorios. Hemos organizado los continentes para proteger nuestros océanos por la biodiversidad invaluable que albergan.
True.
Hemos instado a la sociedad civil de 80 países a realizar acciones concretas para mitigar la crisis climática y levantar exigencias y propuestas que ustedes puedan ejecutar en sus países. Nosotros, sus niños, sus hijos, hemos decidido colaborar globalmente para cuidar nuestro hogar.
True.
Pero son ustedes quienes deciden cómo reedificarlo. Les insto a que escuchen y actúen. Debemos seguir construyendo sobre la ambición climática de la presidencia chilena en la COP25, trabajar localmente para impactar globalmente y tomar en cuenta el conocimiento de la sociedad civil. Este es mi mensaje desde el planeta a la COP. Ayúdennos por favor a garantizar un futuro mejor. En sus manos están nuestras vidas y las de los que vienen.
True.
Lo que decidan en esta conferencia cambiará el rumbo de la humanidad. Es tiempo de actuar.
True.
تحياتي، أنا عبد الفتاح ندى، ناشط في قضية التغير المناخي ورائد أعمال اجتماعي في مجال التمكين الاقتصادي. أحدثكم من مصر لأنقل لكم رسالة باسم شباب الأرض التي باتت مهددة بخطر التغير المناخي يوما بعد يوم، بل دقيقة تلو الأخرى. النشطاء الشباب من كل أنحاء العالم يتكاتفون سويا من أجل رفع الوعي العالمي تجاه مشكلات التغير المناخي. فلابد أن يدرك الجميع أن تلك المشكلات ليست رفاهية،
that's
إنما
just the
تشكل
American
مصيرنا
government. True.
الذي يتحدد من خلال كل قرار فردي نقوم به يوميا، سواء يضر بهذه البيئة أو يساهم في منحها فرصة أخرى في البقاء. حان الوقت الآن أن يبني قادة العالم أجمع على جهودنا كنشطاء، وأن يضعوا السياسات العامة التي تتصدى لأزمة المناخ في مقدمة أولوياتهم. لقد قضيت ال6 سنوات الماضية في العمل مع المجتمعات المحلية الأقل حظاً في التنمية داخل مصر، من خلال تدريب الشباب والقادة المجتمعيين على ريادة الأعمال الاجتماعية والتمكين الاقتصادي باستخدام نماذج المشاريع الصديقة للبيئة. وقد وجدت أن هناك الكثير من الفرص لتحقيق التمكين الاقتصادي في تلك المناطق من خلال تلك المشاريع الخضراء. فعلى الرغم من النظرة إلى هذه المناطق أنها لا تعتبر مشكلات المناخ من ضمن أولوياتها، إلا أن الشباب هناك لديهم الكثير من الحلول المبتكرة لبدء مشاريعهم الاجتماعية الصديقة للبيئة والتي تمكنهم من تحقيق دخل مادي بالإضافة للتصدي لأزمة التغير المناخي. هذه رسالتي من كوكب الأرض لقمة المناخ. أدعو قادة العالم لوضع مفاهيم الاقتصاد الأخضر والاقتصاد الدوار على رأس قائمة السياسات الاقتصادية العالمية في السنوات المقبلة. أؤمن بأن ذلك قد يساهم في تحويل تلك المحنة لمنحة حقيقية. أخيراً، يأمل شباب مصر في ضيافة قمة المناخ التالية، ونرحب بكم في العام القادم لرؤية نموذج مشرف من جهود شباب مصر لحماية كوكبنا وضمان مستقبل أفضل لكل من يعيش عليه. فقط تخيلوا ما يمكننا تحقيقه معا إذا وضعنا هذا الهدف كمهمتنا الجماعية. شكرا جزيلا.
Nice. Which is much more miles ahead of what any of our actions have been. So the idea that, oh, we just have to, like, everybody else has to do stuff before we do. Like, dude, literally everybody, regardless of social status, regardless of wealth, regardless of influence, has been doing steps that are monumentally ahead of the US. I like the term circular economy. Yeah, I think he used those words on purpose. Yeah, he knows what he's talking about. So ironic how the US is the only one opposing the UN in this, but with the other side of their mouth slams China's efforts, right? Which is like really, I don't know how else to put it other than sad and frustrating. Alright, we'll be tuning into the Glasgow the Glasgow climate change conference as we go through different headlines. Right, because it's not about the climate, true. A 33-year-old California man says he was able to pay off his student loans by surviving off 2 meals a day at Six Flags for years. Hey guys, bootstraps everybody. This is how you do it, alright? Bootstraps. California man paid off his student loans after eating Six Flags Magic Mountain for 7 years. Just put your body and health through the ringer. That's all you gotta do. Dylan started purchasing 150 annual passes to eat dinner and multiple meals at the park every day. And in addition to paying off his loans, Dylan bought a house and got married. So you too can do this. Well, not anymore because they closed that loophole. But you too can do this if you subject your body to Six Flags foods for years. The man identified as Dylan started taking advantage of the Six Flags Magic Mountain Pass in 2014 when he worked as an intern in an office minutes away from the amusement park. Oh yeah, and just make sure that you live in walking distance to the amusement park. You can pay around $150 for unlimited year-round access to Six Flags, which includes parking and 2 meals a day. If you time it right, you could eat both lunch and dinner there every day. Oh my god, that's so horrifying. During the first year, Dylan admitted that he doesn't think he ever went to the grocery store and acknowledged that the theme menu park, which was made up of burgers, fries, and pizza, wasn't healthy at all, which was rough. Yeah, so all you have to do is sacrifice your health. Sacrifice years of your life. Because all of these meals, if you eat them in perpetuity, does have an impact in your life and does cut your lifespan. So all you have to do is just offer your body offer your body as a sacrifice, and you too can pay off student loans. Yeah, it's probably all fried food and candy, right? Which is like shaving just years off your life, potential long-term health problems and all this other stuff. Yeah. But like, the idea that this is some type of like feel-good story or like some type of triumphant story is a testament to how propagandized this is. This is supposed to be. I think that they're trying to paint this as a victory, as a you too can do this kind of deal if you just have the right mentality and you pick yourself up by the bootstraps. You too can be like this guy. You too can put your body through garbage food for years at a time to pay off your student loans. The US is the only country where people think it's normal to do that. Right, like that, yes, thank you, Mazumi. So like the idea here is to normalize this type of desperation where people have to subject themselves to that. It's unbelievable to me. It's like those stories where you see like, oh, child raises money by selling lemonade to pay for their X, Y, or Z health thing. Like, wait, what? Child sets up lemonade stand to pay off a school lunch debt for students, for classmates. Like, wait, what? It's pretty dystopic if you ask me. So yeah, just to be clear, this isn't like a feel-good story. This is a dystopic nightmare scenario where this is what you have to do to survive. Oh, send it to me, Mazumi. Send it to me via whispers. What, live off Swanson's frozen yogurt, sodium, Tucker, rich? Yeah. Nice meme. Sent? Alright, let's check it out. Oh, yeah, I remember this. Oh my god. I remember this. Wisconsin school district rejects universal free lunches so kids won't get spoiled. Yeah, I forget. One of the most spoiling things you can do to get to a kid is feed them. That's right. One of the most spoiling things that you could do to a child is make sure they have food. I'm pretty sure my heart... Hey, Ben, I'm pretty sure my heart would explode after a month. Yeah, it's incredibly unhealthy, and even though this guy seems pretty young, the long-term effects of just eating all this really bad food for you and all this other stuff will come up later. And that's kind of sad that this is what you have to put your body through. This is what you have to put your body through. To pay off student loans. To pay off student loans and be able to afford a house. I've spent enough time when working in restaurants to have personally witnessed 90% of people ordering food, so do so with a budget in mind, and the majority of that finding how to manipulate the menu for a better deal. Yeah. If you gain weight, this fried diet hurts your body. Well, this fried diet hurts your body regardless. You can't just live off like fries and burgers and just like this not good for you healthy not good for you unhealthy food. You can't survive off that. You could, but what I mean is it's going to have long-term health implications. It's going to have long-term health implications down the road, even if you don't gain a lot of weight or weight at all. That's irrelevant. You don't need to be like overweight or gaining weight to have like heart problems or liver problems, things like that, kidney problems. You know what the sad part is? I would choose that route if it meant my loans could be paid off. Yeah, that's the idea, spread it forward. You can either here's the gracious amount of choices that you have. You can either put your body through this to pay off student loans, or here's the wonderful choice that you also can do. You can work multiple jobs and put your body through the ringer that way, and drive that hamster wheel. Drive that hamster wheel for years, for 70 hours a week, maybe more. 70 plus, 60 plus hours a week or more. You could put your body through that ringer, or you could put your body and mind through the ringer by signing up for the military. So much choices. Super size me, not true. Seeing that someone would go that far to get a better deal for food isn't surprising, just shows how dystopian we are when it comes to cost of food as a priority. Right. Exactly. Although to buy a house in California takes more than a cheap food budget. True. If you haven't already, give Bleep Blop Ben a follow. Go and support them. Do that. Now. I see you. Insider is like, let's not talk about why student loans are this bad. Let's just praise this guy for doing it. Bootstraps. God, that's so weird and dystopic. Why would anybody do that? Yeah, so in other dystopian headlines that happened a couple months ago. Yeah, we don't want to make sure that kids get spoiled by check notes. Getting food. Yeah. Nice meme. Even though we know that, especially for kids, like their diet is very important, especially for kids. I mean, we could go through a whole bunch of headlines, like I said, of like these dystopic headlines of like kids selling lemonade to get healthcare, kids selling lemonade or a juice stand to pay off their classmates' lunch debt. I mean, yikes. That's right. I forgot Silver Night Dragon. Because food is optional. Kids run on batteries now, of course, yeah. Waukesha County is one of the most conservative counties in Wisconsin. Oof. Yikes. President Manchin said paid leave programs could entice fraud. Inquired about work requirements. Yes, because the first thing that people think about when they need paid leave, usually through maternity leave or paid sick leave, is fraud. That's the first thing that people think about. For months, President Joe Manchin of West Virginia has served as a conservative Democrat bulwark against the most ambitious elements of the Build Back Better agenda, championed by President Biden, which ranged from 2 years of tuition-free college to a broad expansion of Medicare to cover dental. No, this is Sanders' part. Medicare to cover dental, vision, and benefits, among other proposals. However, one of the most sought-out proposals among Democrats was the implementation of paid family leave and medical leave for the millions of Americans who currently aren't able to access such benefits. Yeah, imagine like your go-to thinking. Your line of thinking is, if we give the plebs, if we give the working class paid leave programs, then the first thing that they're going to think of is how are they going to commit fraud? Like, Jesus, man, where is your mentality? The White House earlier this year sought to subsidize 12 weeks of paid sick leave and parental leave, costing $500 billion over a decade, in what would have been a larger $3.5 trillion reconciliation bill, which has already come down from the $6 trillion. Thank you. Finally, they start talking about this. I personally have not seen a lot of news outlets talk about the fact that this was originally $6 trillion, and B, not all news outlets are talking about how all of this spending is over a decade, okay? For context, the military's budget over a decade would be $9 trillion. $9 trillion. Saddest part, the school has been 100% been depending on donations for student lunch debt, and these parents that read into this ignore that it's covered anyways. Jesus. Some schools actually let lunch debt collect interest. Holy yikes, Batman. It's also one of the richest counties. Oof. Interesting. So it costs more to pay them overtime. That's unbelievable to me. So like, oh yeah, we're gonna put interest on food so that, Jesus. Just because that's what President Manchin would do doesn't mean we're all like that. True. His daughter probably gave him that idea. Yikes. Yeah, so anyways, the 3.5 trillion, and I like how they point out that this was originally 6 trillion figure. Again, for reference, the military budget during that time would be 9 trillion, right? So somehow we've gone all up in arms for 6 trillion over 10 years, but we seem to never ask questions, or we seem to be very comfortable with spending 3 times as much for the military over that same amount of time. We seem to be comfortable with a price of multiple trillions of dollars wasted and nothing to show for it except for death, debt, and destruction. This was the compromise. The 3.5 trillion was the compromise over 10 years. With the reconciliation bill being pared down from the 3.5 to the roughly 1.7 trillion, the proposal for paid leave, which had been at 12 weeks, was reduced to 4 weeks, but by end week, the entire paid leave plan was seemingly cut. This is unbelievably asinine to me. Like, why would you do that? Why would you do that? What kind of negotiation is this? This isn't negotiations. These aren't being done in good faith. President Manchin doesn't care. And get this too, if a student doesn't have food, it's too poor to afford it, then that will be forced upon them. Nice. Very good, very healthy system. Very, very working. Very good, very good. Our corporate overlords haven't given their congressional past permission to give the people hope yet. True. Oh my goodness, this is unbelievably infuriating. I've been like mauling about this bill for, I think, 2 weeks at this point, almost 3 weeks. President Manchin had stood firm against paid leave, citing its cost and potential strain on the federal budget. Tell me how you don't understand. Like, wait, he has to know how this works, right? He's been a senator for decades, I assume, right? He has to know how this works. However, according to a Washington Post report that detailed the push by Democratic women to save the paid family leave last week, Manchin has a series of evolving concerns about the benefit program based on statements of 5 individuals who spoke anonymously. Manchin was reported concerned that the paid leave program could generate fraud, comparing such malfeasance to people who were able to illegally obtain unemployment benefits. Wait, where is this guy's mentality? Holy yikes. Wait. So your big concern that, as this article is pointing out, is ever evolving, because if it's not the price tag, he's complaining about whatever. He complained that it was too long, that they reduced that, now it's too expensive, and now that they reduced the bill's overall cost, now he's complaining that this might generate fraud. So just to be clear, the amount of fraud in our pitiful social safety nets that we do have are very minimal and are 100% worth all of the people that do use it and that do need it. I don't get it. So you're gonna torpedo an incredibly important basic necessity that people should have, period, because you're concerned that a small percentage, or that it may or may not happen, would try to use it fraudulently? Are you saying that, because obviously this is going to benefit the working class, are you saying that the working class, the poor working class is just waiting to commit fraud? Like, they have like a fraud, criminal mentality, that this is the first thing that they're going to do if they're offered paid leave, or paid family leave, paid sick leave, and maternity leave? What does that say about you? Yikes. Yeah, when giving a lunch is a new spare the rod. Remember when Biden said he was going to work together with Republicans, and now he can't even work together with Democrats? True. Over 50% of fraud in social safety nets is paid back. Yeah. And even then, like, the actual raw percentage of fraud within our social safety nets is relatively low. Like, it happens, but it's relatively low. And even if that is 100% worth, if it means that the people get help, I don't get it. Like, the whole idea is to help people. Right, exactly, Mazumi. Exactly. Comparing such malfeasance to people who were able to illegally obtain unemployment benefits. And how much is that percentage, really? How much exactly is that percentage? And if people are willing to commit fraud to obtain, if people want to commit fraud to obtain unemployment insurance, then that kind of tells me we're kind of experiencing a problem, right? The media wants to blame us and not the 1%. Yeah. Manchin is not the only one saying this crap. It's what his donors told him to say. I don't know. I think he may believe this stuff. Not to mention that it is quite possible that this is just what he's doing, because that's what his donors are requesting. But I think he just unironically believes this. I actually want to how much fraud in I need to know on average how much unemployment fraud there really is, not taking into account the unemployment fraud that was within this pandemic. The Payment Integrity Information Act requires programs to report an annual improper payment rate below 10%. For 2020, Jesus. Okay. Oh, so they're required to try to keep it under 10%. And it seems like the overwhelming amount of states keep their unemployment insurance accuracy is at a 90-ish%. Sorry, here we go. 90-ish% unemployment. This is from DOL.gov, Department of Labor. So yeah, improper payments generate greater than 13% are red. Improper payment rates that are 10 to 13 are yellow. Improper payment rates that are less than 10% are all green. So the overwhelming majority of states are in the green in terms of like unemployment, improper payment. There's a couple of red, there's a couple of handful of here, and there's a couple of orange. So I'm going to say that the overwhelming majority, and you could see the actual raw numbers, 10, 3%, 11%. So a good, 90-ish% are legitimate? Really? Hey, Anodyne. I despise Madsen, but I'm convinced if it wasn't him, it would be somebody else. The Ratchet always needs a scapegoat. Yeah, but if you can, if you can kind of get somebody like Manchin on board, that would kind of blow the lid on everything, right? Hey, Pat Rat, how's it going? Unemployment fraud seems like a non-issue, at least not one that should result in reducing or restricting unemployment further. Right? Exactly. That's I'm illustrating that point in real time here, because like President Joe Manchin is complaining about all the malfeasance that the poor's commit, is a legitimate reason why they shouldn't have, is a legitimate reason why they shouldn't have paid sick leave, paid maternity leave. If you're desperate enough to commit unemployment fraud, you probably need it. That's another good point. Yes, unemployment is a stock ticker. Is a stock ticker for the elite. To manage how much they can exploit the working class. Maybe. The Mountain State. Oh, the Mountain State Senator also reportedly brought up working requirements despite unemployment already being a key tenet of eligibility for paid leave. Yeah, like, wait, are you for real? So is he requiring people to work? Then why would you need paid leave if you're... Holy yikes. This guy literally just wants to, like, say, F the poors. Basically. You know this. There's no way he doesn't know. How are you supposed to get paid leave off of work without a job? It's by definition a part of it. You need a job to request paid leave anyways. How does that not make sense? It's also an inaccurate figure because they don't count people who are unemployed longer than 6 months and aren't collecting unemployment, so the real unemployment rate is actually higher. Yeah, and that most employment is part-time and ineligible anyways. Yeah, exactly. In stating his opposition, President Manchin has also emphasized a logistical burden that small businesses might face during the federal paid leave legislation, expressed concern about the solvency of a new social spending product. Hey, how come that never comes up when we have to talk about, like, the solvency of expending trillions upon trillions of dollars for the military? How come that's never a thing? How come that question never gets brought up? So paid leave would generate millions of temporary jobs? Maybe. How would you compare if she was treated by the Democrats when she asked for a progressive thing and Manchin asked for whatever he wants? Yeah, I know. That's a great point, actually, Memo. That's a great point. Actually, I would support paid leave for an unemployed spouse if the other has a job, giving some extra cover. And the new medical expenses would be great, or just lay out, like, or really the real answer when you talk about healthcare is not these, like, weird roundabout ways where you try to give people subsidies or you try to give people vouchers. Why just lay the groundwork so that we have a universal healthcare system? Lay the groundwork so that we have a universal healthcare system, and then let the conservatives try to take it, right? Like, and that's just, like, unbelievable to me that that's such a hard concept to grasp, and that would be such a good political strategy. Make the story about how the Democrats are letting their members be Republicans. Well, yeah, I mean, like, effectively they're helping them, whether they think that they're not or whatever, they are. I make sure to be very clear that these are conservative Democrats. These are not moderates. These are not centrists. You would think so, Skidadier. Capitalists should see healthcare as an angle to increase production, but we all know production isn't the goal, it's profit. Yeah. But even then, it's kind of bad thinking because, well, a healthy population, a workforce that has healthcare, would actually increase profit. Control is? Maybe. I suppose. I don't know. I think that one thing is very clear. Large businesses are only interested in how much money they can generate for their shareholders. That's really the core of it. That's their responsibility. Their responsibility is to generate, and by any means necessary, by any means available, the line go up. That's it. Line go up. I'm sorry, I keep mistyping. You're amazing at correcting me. Yeah, it's okay. To expand social programs when you have trust funds or that aren't solvent, that are going insolvent, I can't explain that. It doesn't make sense to me because it doesn't make sense. I want to work with everyone as long as we can start paying for things. Well, there are ways of funding this thing, right? Like taxes, but you don't want that either. You don't want to raise taxes on billionaires. You don't want to raise taxes on corporations. So that's all. I can't put this burden on my grandchildren. Nah, spare me. I went over this last time. Spare me. Spare me. Your grandchildren? The grandchildren of Joe Manchin? Do you think that they're going to be burdened by any of this? If by burdened meaning that they would have to pay taxes, if by burden you mean they would have to pay taxes? No, so like the faux like idea that this is so fake. He knows that his grandchildren will never have any such thing as a burden of anything, to be quite honest. His grandchildren will never have a burden of anything. According to Pew Research, the US is a notable outlier when it comes to parental leave, paid parental leave. Across 41 countries, America is the only one that does not mandate paid leave. The US similarly lags behind peers in paid sick leave, with no federal sick leave mandates. Nice. Nice. Very good. Very awesome. Very awesome. Madam President Kyrsten Sinema of Arizona, a fellow conservative who also stymied Democratic leadership over the size of the reconciliation bill, introduced a bipartisan family leave legislation in 2019 that would have given the family option of advancing up to $5,000 child tax credits to parents in the first years of child life. The point of paid maternity leave and paid paternity leave and paid sick leave and all this other stuff is to spend time with the child. Hey, Sir Yogi. What if my millionaire grandchildren have to pay 2% more in taxes? I can't consciously do that with that burden. Exactly. That's exactly what he means. If we start taxing wealth of the rich, he actually is a person whose grandchild will be affected while his supporters are likely not. Yeah, exactly. President Manchin fundamentally doesn't understand macroeconomics. I disagree. I think he does. I just think he doesn't care. Clearly he doesn't care. When I work for the government, I pretend it's my money. True. I disagree. I think he knows. I think he understands exactly how things work. There's no way he has been in government for decades and doesn't understand how the federal budget works, how taxes work and all that. There's just no way. I think he just legitimately doesn't care. What about the fraud that fossil fuel corporations need equipment and exploration subsidies from pharma corps and research subsidies? Oh, right. Yeah. There's a nice fix in there for that. That's fine. Yeah, so the point is, Madam President Kyrsten Sinema also doesn't understand, like, the whole point of paid family leave, paid maternity leave is for the parents to stay home with their children, because that's kind of important. And that's kind of important. I thought conservatives were all about the family, and we're all about, like, the family, but when push comes to shove, they don't care about that. They actually don't care. When it comes to actually applying their principles about caring about the family and all this other stuff, you know how conservatives always talk about the family unit and all this other stuff, but when it comes down to it, something that would actually help, they throw that out the window. Numerous studies have found that paid leave has a positive effect on the economy and workers. Paid leave may lead to higher earnings for women, healthier children because they're there to be taken care of, and stronger economic growth. According to a study by think tank New America, an analysis of University of Massachusetts found that paid leave would increase Americans' income by $28.5 billion every year. Among the Democratic caucuses, Senator Kirsten Gillibrand of New York and Pat Murray of Washington have been extremely vocal about the need for paid leave. Yep. Anyways, TLDR, I'm still mauling about this. This guy just keeps being more and more infuriating. Unbelievable to me. Just really quickly, in a meme article, the UN says $6 billion from the world's billionaires could solve hunger crisis. Elon Musk said he will sell Tesla stock and donate proceeds if the UN can prove that. I mean, wait. Why would we need to wait? Why is it requiring us to be at the mercy of a single person instead of being like, hey, you know what? This is kind of like important to society. It turns out, this might be like a radical thought, but it turns out people need food. I know, it's shocking. People need food, and I'm not gonna sit here and wait for Daddy Elon, as Anodyne posted, to wait to maybe, hopefully, perhaps, think about it, perhaps. Healthy people can learn to think for themselves, which is a threat to the short-term quarterly profits. Yeah, I forgot about that. Silver Knight Dragon, I forgot about that. That's right, Biden gives away the country. Republicans are too busy either making money or micromanaging workers to care about workers. True. Are we the only country with folks consistently against their own interests? Yeah, something like that. Thundera, how's it going? Anyways, TLDR, Daddy Elon's gonna save us. I'm pretty sure. Someday, if we just wait. Maybe. It'll trickle down. Maybe. I don't know. Or, hear me out. Or, we could tax the ever-living shit out of all these billionaires. And just be done with it. I don't know. Maybe that's just a radical idea of mine. My toenail is so thick I just broke the toenail clippers. Oof. Ouchies. Anyways, I can't believe that this is being like done as a news article instead of being like, hey, it turns out that the resources necessary to solve a hunger crisis lies in taxing the ever-living shit out of a group of individuals that will not feel it. That will not feel it at all. Like, if Elon Musk was $6 billion poor, he wouldn't even know. He wouldn't even realize it. Did anyone think to ask the genius Elon that the current capitalist system of distribution isn't working either? He probably understands. He just, like, I would say that he just doesn't care. He's just worried about how much hundreds of billions it's gonna come into his pocket. Yeah, so like the real article is The solution to solving hunger crises lies in taxing the ever-living shit out of a group of individuals who will never even notice 6 billion being taxed. That's the article. Fixed it for you. COP26 is going on. So we'll leave it on in case there's more speakers coming up. And in the meantime, I'm under boil water advisory because of the water main broke. Our water main broke. Yikes. Yikes. Private immigration prison in Tacoma must now pay working detainees minimum wage. The fact that this is even a thing should already bring up multiple red flags to everybody. The fact that this is even a thing should already be ringing quite the amount of red flags. COP26, the most useless conference in the world, mainly nothing will change. Well, I don't know if it's useless, but I do think that unfortunately you may end up being correct, Danarchist. You may end up being correct in the fact that nothing will fundamentally change. And that's the sad part. That you may end up that may end up being the thing, Danarchist. That may end up being the thing. I know that we have multiple conferences throughout the years, and nothing has changed. Really, nothing has changed. But I still think it's important to continue to communicate that, the urgency of this situation. Private immigrant prison in Tacoma must now pay working detainees a minimum wage. A federal jury ruled this week that a GEO group, the company that runs Northwest ICE Processing Center for Immigrants, must pay working detainees the state's minimum wage. Thousands of past detainees are eligible for back pay in a multi-million-dollar class action lawsuit. For more than a decade, GEO Group has used thousands of locked-up detainees to perform all kinds of tasks in upkeep, cleaning toilets, washing floors, running the kitchen. It's all handled by people waiting on their immigration cases to work their way through the courts, and to pay for a full day's work at for-profit prison is $1 a day. Yikes. Yeah, that should read for-profit human warehouse in Tacoma forced to pay minimum wage. Yeah, like like I said, there's a massive amount of red flags here. Why is this a private prison? Why? Sometimes they wouldn't even get that $1 a day. They would be giving a soda can or a bag of chips or a candy bar. Hey, look at that. This is a Ancapistan. This is an Ancapistan pipe dream. This is it. This is what they would love. I made an album for the CEO of GEO Core once. No way. What would be interesting to see if the stock values of those wealthy people like Amazon or Tesla start to drop if they're forced to sell their shares to pay taxes, lowering their arbitrary figure back down to planet Earth or not. I don't know. I give the follow 59 martyring. Maybe. I personally don't care. Tax the shit out of them. The $1 has been heavily relied upon by detained workers. It gives them... That's a weird framing of that. but okay. It gives them money which they can make phone calls to their... Wait, so they're charged? Wait. So it's not... They're not making money. Wait. Wait, they're not making money. Benjamin P. Dixon, raiding with a party of 20. Welcome, everybody. How's it going? Superfly Trans Guy, how's it going? Raid. Welcome, everybody. If you guys don't know who we are A Difficult Truth. We do news and politics Monday through Thursday, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And, Saturdays, we do Saturday Catterday. So make sure you hit that follow button. Make sure you join us. Don't forget to hit the follow button. Jam Tomb, good morning from Like It or Not. Howdy. Dak Apollyon, good morning. Please follow and double click. Yes, please do that. It really does help me. And one of the best things that you guys can do, and I really appreciate the support here, is to spread the word far and wide. It doesn't cost a penny. Spread the word far and wide that this is the chillest place to be for news and politics in the AM. After, of course, the Benjamin P. Dixon Show. Join us here. Why not? Why not? Controls all the CCTV in UK. Some truly depraved... Yikes. Yikes, when better. GEO Corp controls the CCTV in the UK. Some truly depraved shit. Yikes. Yikes. Why is that even a thing? Yeah, so it just gets worse the more we read this. It just gets worse. It gives them money which they can make phone calls to their family members. They're charged inordinate amounts just to call their families. Also, to supplement a very meager diet that they're provided, would help provide them with resources for basic necessities. Jesus. I would just note that the hundreds and thousands of people who have been locked up in this detention center have been there for civil immigration proceedings. That means they're not being punished for a crime because this is a civil process. Neither the private corporation nor the federal government has the right to punish them. Washington state law is clear that there is not an exception for private corporations to permit people to work for them without paying them minimum wage. Wow. My web's just a kapoo and all I have is chat. Love y'all. See you as soon as I get this working. It's okay, Jamtoon. I appreciate it. Please go check out twitch.tv/Benjamin P. Dixon Show. Please go check out twitch.tv/Jamtoon. The jury's verdict followed a 2017 lawsuit from State Attorney General Bob Ferguson. In a statement, Ferguson said this is a multi-billion-dollar corporation. It illegally exploited these people, and it detains to line its own pockets. Today's victory sends a clear message. Washington will not tolerate corporations that get rich violating the rights of people. Well, yeah, about that. GEO Group will have to start paying worker detainees $13.69 an hour, which is Washington State's minimum wage. Mora Villalpando calls a victory, but she says the decision also raises a lot of new questions, like how will detainees get paid? Right now, they get their daily dollar through privately run commissary. Through the privately run commissary, will GEO Group set up payroll systems? If the detainees become paid employees, can they unionize? Huh. Now that would be interesting. GEO Group did not respond to a request to answer these questions. On the first day, the company was required to start paying detainees minimum wage. Mora Villalpando says that they did not send out workers to their usual shifts. Instead, they had guards serve food to detainees. The other side of it is whether that will then result in more jobs in the local community because they'll no longer be able to take advantage of this basically free labor. Yeah. The prison company not only has to start paying a new hourly wage, they also owe thousands of past detainees back pay who have worked at the facility. There's a lot to be developed here. The court is moving forward through this process, but yes, if this company, which earns billions of dollars a year locking up individuals, has gained unjust enrichment from his free labor, then they have a responsibility to pay back these wages that are owed to the people who work for them. True. Ferguson said that they are seeking millions of dollars in wages owed to workers from 2014 through today. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of people, because that detention center, if not because of the pandemic, has always been at capacity. Yikes. That's right. It's a private prison exploiting. Yeah, it's literally part of their business model, man. That's why they're actually going to change this. Creating more prison guards is not good. It creates an economy entirely reliant on locking up petty criminals. Yeah, but like this isn't even like, this isn't even a criminal thing. This is all of these folks, by the way, all of these folks that are here, that are being, quote, detained, they're here on a civil issue, civil process. They're just waiting for their hearings. That's it. They're just waiting for their, asylum or court hearings. That's it. There's not a single criminal aspect about this. That's what's infuriating. They're literally putting these people to work. They're detaining them, putting them to work for nothing, really, because all the little $1 a day, the little soda, chips or candy, all of that just has to get put back into the company, because they charge them to make phone calls to their family. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, locking them up criminalizes them. This country is cursed. True. Prison guard unions become super powerful locally, and it incentivizes local courts to prosecute harshly, whether it's a public or private prison. Yeah, this is just beyond me that this is even a thing. This isn't even a thing. Why? Why? Unbelievable. Border security. That's right, since it's a prison, they can employ slave methods. No real repercussion until now. No real repercussion until now. And again, it's just wild to me because they're not there for crimes. Like that's really the cherry on top of it. They're not there for crimes. They're there because they're waiting for their hearings. Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh and Amy Coney Barrett side with liberal justices declined to block Maine's vaccine mandate for health workers with religious objections. Yeah, time and time again, we've known that this has Supreme Court precedent. In a ruling on Friday, the Supreme Court declined to block Maine from requiring vaccine mandates. For healthcare workers who object on religious grounds. Maine requires all healthcare workers to be fully vaccinated, does not grant religious exemptions. A group of healthcare workers sought an emergency order from the Supreme Court that would block the requirement for those with religious objections. The court voted 6-3 with conservative Justice John Roberts, Trump appointees Brett Kavanaugh and Amy Coney Barrett siding with the liberal justices. The majority did not give a reason for the decision, but conservative Justice Neil Gorsuch, joined by Justices Clarence Thomas and Samuel Alito, issued a law in dissent. Unlike comparable rules in other states, Maine rule contains no exemption for those who sincerely held religious beliefs preclude them from accepting vaccination. Gorsuch wrote that adding the healthcare workers that sought relief from the rule has served on the front lines throughout the pandemic. Yes. And they're also the most susceptible because they're in the front lines, so that's why that's there. I don't get it. With Maine's new ruling coming into effect, one of the applicants has already lost her job for refusing to betray her faith. Another risk is, their separation of church and state. Another risk, their imminent loss to their medical practice. Barrett, joined by Kavanaugh in a concurring opinion, briefly remarked on the decision to block the request, citing the fact that the case was brought on shadow docket or as an emergency appeal. Shadow docket cases do not involve oral arguments or full rulings that are part of normal cases. Barrett said that the shadow docket should not be used for such a case and the court should not make a decision on a short fuse without the benefits of full briefing and oral arguments. Implying that she and Kavanaugh could vote differently if the case came before the court in a different way. Yeah, I mean, like, but these are things old as time, okay? Yeah, coming for asylum here is officially a crime now. Yeah, that's right. We already know the criminalizing behavior has no effect on curbing the behavior. We have such deeply rooted problems in how we approach stuff like that. They think that this harshness will make people not come here. Right. And just to be clear, like the overwhelming majority of immigrants, they don't want to just pick up and leave. They don't want to just pick up and whatever they can in their hands and travel. They don't want to do any of that. Okay? That is a last resort. To put your life in danger for to make a thousands of mile journey where a multitude of things can happen to you. You don't do that because, like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna pick up my stuff and go. Like, no. The majority of people would love to just stay where they are. And no amount of harsh cruelness will be enough to stop that if the alternative is death. I don't get it. Climate refugees are about to be a massive, massive issue at the equatorial countries, basically becoming impossible to farm in. Oh yeah, it's gonna get like that in a couple decades. You see if things continue to go down the path that they are. Yeah, give it a couple decades. We'll see what's oof. Refugees typically aren't glued to social media news, which is supposed to dissuade them from getting to the U.S. Yeah, they're too busy, seeing how they can survive. So they've been using illegal migrants to work for them when the country has been accused of migrants of stealing jobs. Makes sense. Yeah, very solid logic. It's only a crime for brown people. The immigrants coming in from white countries are not subject to imprisonment while awaiting status. Yeah, usually because, well, most immigrants just overstay their visas, and those are not the invaders, Stack Apollyon. Those are not the invaders, as they call them. I don't get it. Florida blocks professor from testifying against voting law pushed by DeSantis. Florida's flagship university is under fire for violating free speech rights of 3 professors it blocked from testifying in a lawsuit challenging the state's new voting restrictions. Right, so I am a proponent of free speech, except for the speech that I don't like. Speaking of Supreme Court, it looks like they're gearing up to lock in the long-term goal of getting the Supreme Court to say Congress doesn't have the authority to enforce regulations and thus delegitimize the EPA and the SEC. Holy yikes. They're gearing up to lock in the long-term of the goal of getting the Supreme Court to say Congress doesn't have the authority to enforce regulation and thus delegitimize the EPA and the SEC. So then who does have the authority to enforce regulation? Oh my, that is so frightening. That is quite possibly one of the most pivotal rulings then. If that's the case, that is one of the most pivotal rulings that we'll have here. This has been their stated goal since the mid-80s. I'm not surprised. I'm worried about, like, wait, is this something that's happening right now? Hey, Callow.
Grace is going to make an announcement. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, may I please ask you to take your seats in order for us to begin with the high-level segment for heads of state and government. Thank you.
That is truly, holy yikes. If that happens, and it basically cements the fact that the EPA is not going to be... If you find it, please send it to me via whispers. If the EPA is not able to enforce regulation, if the SEC is not there to enforce regulation, we arrive at the question that Kal-El just asked. So then what is the point of the government at that point? Like, exactly... And I'm sure some of these folks would be like, yeah, exactly. But that's not really... Ooh, did y'all hear that pop? Ooh. Did y'all catch that pop? Oof. I heard it? Yeah, so, okay, if you heard it, that was my knee. That was my knee. Nice meme. Okay. Yeah, so I'm sure some people would be like, hey, and yeah, that's the point. We need to deregulate. But, I don't think that the majority of people will understand the ramifications of what that means. Okay? Of what that means if the EPA cannot enforce regulation, if the SEC cannot enforce regulation. It's already bad enough as it is. It's already bad enough as it is. That might unironically be like the final straw. Before I go like 100% like dark, before I go 100% black pill. Yeah, because then like at that point, then it's like, oh well, then the federal government doesn't have the Congress doesn't have the authority to like enforce regulations about climate and the environment. Then what's the point? Where the government doesn't have the ability to enforce regulations when it comes to financing, consumer protections, or anything like that. Then what's the point of any regulation? Because like, I mean, clearly, Congress wouldn't have that authority, according to, if I follow the logic. My knees make that sound all the time. Oh boy. Yeah, so then what about all regulations? I guess food doesn't have to be, doesn't have to go through any safety inspection whatsoever because Congress shouldn't have that authority. Like, do you see where this is gonna go really, really bad in so many ways? Oh man, that might actually be the unironic like black pill for me. Holy yikes. Found the Supreme Court thing, okay. And then we were doomer so much sooner. Oh shoot. Okay. The Koch brothers and U.S. conservatism in 2012 vowed to shut down large parts of the U.S. government by abolishing the Federal Reserve, Security Exchange Commission, and the Environmental Protection Agency, and a host of other programs. And it goes back to the 80s when David Koch ran as vice presidential candidate for the Libertarian Party, outflanking Ronald Reagan on the right by vowing to essentially shutting down the large parts of the U.S. government by abolishing the Federal Reserve, Securities and Exchange Commission, the Environmental Protection Agency, and a host of other programs like Social Security, should the ticket get elected. Jesus. From Professor Murray and me in Post Opinions last year when Republicans confirmed Justice Barrett to the SCOTUS. Washington Post. A more conservative court could refashion regulatory state by reviving the non-delegation doctrine, restricting Congress's ability to delegate authority to administrative agencies. The heck? Oh, sorry. Such a shift would change government as we know it, preventing agency regulations aimed at combating climate change, delivering healthcare, or addressing a global pandemic. It isn't a stretch to say that the decision-making along these lines would mean most of government is unconstitutional, as Kagan has put it. As Justice Kagan put it. Nice meme. Very good. Not just the EPA's authority, SCOTUS has agreed to take up Congress's constitutional authority to delegate EPA the power to regulate greenhouse gas emissions. Breaking, Supreme Court agrees to consider limiting EPA's authorities to curb greenhouse gases from power plants. We'll hear appeals from coal mining companies and Republican-led states. The U.S. Supreme Court will consider limiting the EPA's authority to curb greenhouse gases. Stop it. Agreeing to hear from power plants, agreeing to hear appeals from coal mining companies and Republican-led states. The appeals seek to prevent President Joe Biden's administration from imposing the types of sweeping emissions rules that EPA tried to put in place when fellow Democrat Barack Obama was president. The Supreme Court put Obama's Clean Power Plan on hold in February 2016 and never took effect. The conservative-controlled court will review a federal appeals court decision that critics say give the EPA sweeping authority to reshape key sectors of the U.S. economy, going well beyond what Congress envisioned when it enacted the Clean Air Act. The appeals court ruling would have a massive consequence, issued a West Virginia-led group of 18 states and one governor. It would let the agency set standards on a regional or even national level, forcing dramatic changes in how and where electricity is produced, as well as transforming any other sector of the economy where stationary sources emit greenhouse gases. Well, I mean, yeah. Wait. Who's saying that? I thought we already got rid of every regulation under Trump. Everyone. Who is saying that? Apparently, Bloomberg. Oh lord, here we go, folks. The decision to hear the case comes as Biden is set to attend an international climate conference in Glasgow, Scotland that begins on Sunday. The court's intervention could be a setback to the president's pledge to reduce U.S. emissions in half by the end of the decade and his goal of a carbon-free electric grid by 2035, which, okay. Oh man, this is just getting better and better, folks.
At COP26, and why we must work together to accelerate climate action in this decisive decade. As you all know, the science is clear that the window of time that we have to keep the Paris temperature goal in reach and to avoid the worst effects of climate change is closing fast. But with political will and commitment, we can and must deliver an outcome in Glasgow the world can be proud of. I'm also pleased that after the national statements today and in breaks in the programme tomorrow, we will hear from a selection of leading voices across civil society, business and finance.
Wait, what do you mean?
To celebrate and showcase action and ambition across all three pillars of the Paris Agreement. At this time, I will now close the video link connecting the plenaries, and we will proceed with the delivery of national statements in both plenaries. At the end of the delivery of national statements in each plenary, the meeting will be adjourned. The world will be listening intently to your statements. It is now my great pleasure to welcome His Excellency Mr. Pedro Sanchez Perez Castillon, President of the Government of Spain. Your Excellency, you have the floor.
Presidente, presidentes de Gobierno, primeros ministros, delegados y delegadas, desde que nos reunimos en Madrid hace ya 2 años, la certeza sobre los catastróficos riesgos de la emergencia climática es cada vez mayor. Como nos recordaba en su intervención el secretario general de Naciones Unidas, los científicos certifican el código rojo en el que nos encontramos. Es evidente que necesitamos un nuevo orden internacional que reconozca el papel de todos los actores, de los gobiernos, de las administraciones públicas, de la ciudadanía, de las empresas, del sector financiero, como agentes imprescindibles del cambio.
So he's basically echoing everybody's concerns. As we know that the evidence is overwhelming, this has been a state of code red, and we must work together, is what he's trying to say.
Determinación política y acción inmediata.
There must be a political will and immediate action.
Reducir emisiones y elevar nuestro nivel de ambición.
We must reduce emissions and raise our levels of ambition.
Grados centígrados sigue siendo un objetivo a nuestro alcance.
To reach to 1.5 degrees Celsius is still an objective of ours.
La eficiencia energética, la movilidad limpia, la conservación y la restauración de nuestros ecosistemas y la rehabilitación urbana.
Basically everything I've been talking about, we must reduce emissions in every way possible, and we must put resources into restoring our ecosystems.
Por eso, mi país, España, ha reducido la generación eléctrica de carbón en un 90% en estos últimos 4 años.
Spain, for that reason, Spain has reduced its carbon emissions by 90%.
Nuestras sociedades, y este es uno de los principales retos que tenemos por delante, deben percibir la transición ecológica no como una amenaza, sino como una inmensa oportunidad de crecimiento económico inclusivo.
We should look at this catastrophe as not a negative, but as an opportunity to generate economic growth and new opportunities.
A nuestro país de la primera ley de cambio climático y transición energética, que así lo establece, y la decisión de destinar casi 30.000 millones de euros en los próximos 3 años a la transición ecológica es la mejor expresión de nuestra voluntad política. En segundo lugar, debemos crear marcos adecuados para nuestras políticas de adaptación.
I think 30 million is what he said to restoration efforts to the EU for restoring ecosystems.
A 2030, y hemos enviado la comunicación de adaptación de España a Naciones Unidas. También vamos a reforzar nuestra acción exterior en este ámbito y por eso mi país, España, va a aportar 30 millones de euros al Fondo de Adaptación de Naciones Unidas en 2022.
And in 2022, we will divert $30 million more dollars to outside funds for our fight in climate change or restoration efforts or whatever outside the EU.
De recuperar la confianza entre los países del norte y del sur. España hará de su parte. Nos comprometemos a aumentar la financiación climática para llegar en 2025 con un incremento de un 50% respecto de nuestro compromiso actual. Nuestro objetivo es alcanzar los 1.350 millones de euros anuales a partir de 2025. Además, España va a destinar el 20% de sus derechos especiales de giro a países vulnerables, un mínimo de 350 millones de euros, y para finalizar,
300 million euros for the vulnerable countries.
Para que esta COP suponga el punto de inflexión que impulse un verdadero cambio de rumbo del planeta a través de una acción solidaria, contundente y urgente. Una acción que cierre las brechas de desigualdad y que permita a todos percibir.
We must take action that will close the gap of inequality and push us forward. Sorry for my bad translation, but more or less, I hope that that kind of gives the
Your Excellency. It's now my great pleasure to welcome His Excellency Mr. Mohamed Ghazouani, President of Mauritania. Your Excellency, you have the floor.
I know, Sir Yogi, it's incredibly disturbing. Yep. I agree, Quimbetter. I agree. green jobs are a fantastic economic opportunity and we're just not doing it. Exactly.
أصحاب الفخامة والمعالي السادة والسيدات رؤساء الدول والحكومات.
Where are the captions?
صاحب المعالي رئيس الدورة 26 لمؤتمر الأطراف في الاتفاقية الإطارية للأمم المتحدة حول التغير المناخي.
Man, I wish I could understand.
معالي السيد الأمين العام للأمم المتحدة. السادة والسيدات ممثلو المنظمات الحكومية وغير الحكومية. أيها السادة والسيدات. Le réchauffement climatique, du fait de ses désastreuses conséquences multiformes, constitue aujourd'hui un défi de premier ordre que l'humanité tout entière se doit impérativement de relever. Cette 6e conférence des parties à la Convention cadre des Nations Unies sur les changements climatiques nous offre l'occasion de saluer l'élan international en faveur de l'action climatique.
Wait, this isn't... Yeah, this sounds like France because I'm understanding words.
La transition écologique au sommet des priorités stratégiques de l'agenda 2030 et de toutes les politiques publiques de relance post-Covid. En effet, il est nécessaire que nos États mettent en œuvre individuellement et collectivement.
Oh no, this is a previous one.
Plus résiliente et plus inclusive. Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs, la Mauritanie vient de réviser sa contribution nationale climat. Et bien que nos émissions de gaz à effet de serre soient très marginales, nous avons prévu de les réduire de 11% par rapport à 2018 à l'horizon 2030. Avec un appui financier extérieur plus conséquent, nous pourrions atteindre la neutralité carbone en 2030. Les efforts que nous avons consentis sur la période de 2030.
Sky News.
I just wanted to show how easy it is to make
We're having some technical issues with the pictures there, listening to the President of Mauritania. These sessions taking place across 2 plenary rooms, and this is the other room where the outgoing Chancellor of Germany, Angela Merkel, is speaking.
With other countries in the world, if we develop such a price on CO2 emissions, we can ensure that our industry, our business can develop the best technologies and ways to achieve climate neutrality. It is about changing our way of doing business, our way of working. It is a comprehensive transformation, and if we achieve this, we know how to best achieve CO2-free mobility, CO2-free industry, and CO2-free processes. Thus, a very clear expression of myself in this decisive decade: be more ambitious on the national scale, but develop instruments globally that do not mean that we spend taxpayers, but that also make sense in economic terms. And that is, as I see it, putting...
You have the floor.
And collectively implement all the measures required by the building of pathways for development which is more environmentally friendly.
Issues with the pictures there, listening to the President of Mauritania. These sessions taking place across 2 plenary rooms, and this is the other room where the outgoing Chancellor of Germany, Angela Merkel, is speaking.
With other countries in the world, if we develop such a price on CO2 emissions, we can ensure that our industry, our business can develop the best technologies and ways to achieve climate neutrality. It is about changing our way of doing business, our way of working. It is a comprehensive transformation, and if we achieve this, we know how to best achieve CO2-free mobility, CO2-free industry, and CO2-free processes. Thus, a very clear expression of myself. In this decisive decade, be more ambitious on the national scale, but develop instruments globally that do not mean that we spend taxpayers' money, but that also make sense in economic terms. And that is, as I see it, putting a price on CO2 emissions. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Your Excellency. It is my pleasure to welcome His Excellency, Mr. Abdul Hamid Mohammed Al Dabaiba, Prime Minister of Libya.
We're going to leave that plenary session there for a moment and take you back. I'm told that our technical situation has been resolved now to the other plenary room where we were listening to the President of Mauritania there. He will be followed by President Joe Biden. Let's listen back in.
The implementation of these promises is something that is today expected by millions of Africans who are suffering from the deterioration of their livelihoods. Therefore, we would invite COP26 to make the Great Green Wall program an international priority. And we would ask more comprehensively that financing for adaptation and the environmental transition be significantly increased and transferred in the majority of these pledges as donations in order not to exacerbate the debt burden of developing countries. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we are convinced that climate action is a social, environmental, economic and security priority.
True.
And as such, Mauritania remains fully committed to foster international climate cooperation and accelerate the environmental transition which we need today more than ever. Ladies and gentlemen, Excellencies, we are convinced that climate action is a social, environmental, economic and security priority. And therefore, the Islamic Republic of Mauritania will remain fully committed to ensure that international climate cooperation progresses and to advance the environmental transition which we need now more than
Brandon,
ever.
what do you mean?
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. It is now my great pleasure to welcome His Excellency, Mr. Joseph R. Biden, Jr., President of the United States of America. Your Excellency, you have the floor.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, to state the obvious, we meet with the eyes of history upon us and the profound questions before us. It's simple. Will we act? Will we do what is necessary?
No.
Will we seize the enormous opportunity before us?
No.
Or will we condemn future generations to suffer?
Yes.
This is the decade that will determine the answer, this decade.
True.
The science is clear.
True.
We only have a brief window left before us to raise our ambitions and to meet the task that's rapidly narrowing. This is a decisive decade in which we have an opportunity to prove ourselves.
True. What you going to do about it?
We can keep the goal of limiting global warming to just 1.5 degrees Celsius within our reach if we come together. If we commit to doing our part of each of our nations with determination and with ambition. That's what COP26 is all about. Glasgow must be the kickoff of a decade of ambition and innovation to preserve our shared future. Climate change is already ravaging the world. We've heard from many speakers.
True.
It's not hypothetical. It's not a hypothetical threat. It's destroying people's lives and livelihoods, and doing it every single day. It's costing our nations trillions of dollars. Record heat and drought, fueling more widespread and more intense wildfires in some places and crop failures in others. Record flooding and what used to be a once-in-a-century storms are now happening every few years. In the past few months, the United States has experienced all of this, and every region of the world can tell similar stories. And in an age where this pandemic has made so painfully clear that no nation can wall itself off from borderless threats, we know that none of us can escape the worst that's yet to come if we fail to seize this moment. But ladies and gentlemen, within the growing catastrophe, I believe there's an incredible opportunity, not just for the United States, but for all of us. We're standing at an inflection point in world history.
True.
We have the ability to invest in ourselves and build an equitable, clean energy future, and in the process, create millions of good-paying jobs and opportunities around the world. Cleaner air for our children, more bountiful oceans, healthier forests and ecosystems for our planet. We can create an environment that raises the standard of living around the world. And this is a moral imperative, but it's also an economic imperative. If we fuel greater growth, new jobs, better opportunities for all our people, And as we see, current volatility in energy prices, rather than cast it as a reason to back off our clean energy goals, we must view it as a call to action.
True.
High energy prices only reinforce the urgent need to diversify sources,
then
double
do
down
it
on clean energy development, and adapt promising new clean energy technologies so we can not only we don't remain overly reliant on one source of power to power our economies and our communities. It's in the self-interest of every single nation. And this is a chance, in my view, to make a generational investment in our economic resilience and on our workers and our communities throughout the world. That's what we're going to do in the United States. My Build Back Better framework will make historic investments in clean energy.
It won't.
The most significant investment to deal with the climate crisis that any advanced nation has made ever. We're going to cut U.S. greenhouse gas emissions by well over a gigaton by 2030, while making it more affordable for consumers to save on their own energy bills, with tax credits for things like installing solar panels, weatherizing their homes. Lowering energy prices will also deliver cleaner air and water for our children, electrifying fleets of school buses, increasing credits for electric vehicles, and addressing legacy pollution. It will incentivize clean energy manufacturing, building the solar panels and the wind turbines that are growing energy markets of the future, which will create good-paying union jobs for American workers, and something that none of us should lose sight of. When I talk to the American people about climate change, I tell them it's about jobs. It's about workers who will lay thousands of miles of transmission lines of clean, modern, resilient power grid.
I mean, yeah,
the
but
auto workers who build the next generation of electric vehicles and electricians who will install a nationwide network of 500,000 vehicle stations to power them throughout my country. The engineers who will design new carbon capture systems, and the construction workers who will make them a reality. The farmers who will not only help fight global hunger, but also use the soil to fight climate change. The communities that revitalize themselves around new industries and opportunities. And because we are taking all these actions, the United States will be able to meet the ambitious target I set in the Leaders Summit in Climate back in April, reducing U.S. emissions by 50 to 52% below 2005 levels by 2030. We'll demonstrate to the world the United States is not only back at the table, but hopefully leading by the power of our example.
Okay.
I know it hasn't been the case, and that's why my administration is working overtime to show that our climate commitment is action, not words. On my very first day in office, I took action to return the United States to the Paris Agreement. Since then, our administration has been hard at work unlocking clean energy breakthroughs to drive down the cost of technologies that will require us to achieve net zero emissions, and working with the private sector on the next generation of technologies that will power a clean economy of the future. Over the next several days, the United States will be announcing new initiatives to demonstrate our commitment to providing innovative solutions across multiple sectors, from agriculture to oil and gas, to combating deforestation, to tackling hard and to abate industries. We're planning for both short-term sprint to 2030 that will keep 1.5 degrees Celsius in reach, and for a marathon that will take us to the finish line and transform the largest economy in the world into a thriving, innovative, equitable, and just clean energy engine of net zero for a net zero world. That's why today I'm releasing the U.S. long-term strategy, which presents a vision of achieving the United States goal of net zero emissions economy-wide by no later than 2050, and reinforces an absolutely critical nature of taking bold action in the decisive decade. We're also going to try to do our part when it comes to helping the rest of the world take action as well. We want to do more to help countries around the world, especially developing countries, accelerate their clean energy transition, address pollution, and ensure the world.
No, I had it. I had it sped up to catch up with the live feed going better.
To help. In the United Nations, in September, I announced that my administration is working with the Congress to quadruple our climate finance support for developing countries by 2024, including a significant increase in support for adaptation efforts. This commitment is made possible to each of our collective goals of mobilizing $100 billion annually for climate finance, but mobilizing finance at the scale necessary to meet the incredible need is an all-hands-on-deck effort. As other speakers today have mentioned, governments in the private sector and multilateral development banks must also do their work to go from millions to billions to trillions, the necessary effect of this transition. Today, I'm also submitting a new adaptation communication laying out how we will implement the global goal of adaptation, as well as announcing our first ever contribution to the Adaptation Fund. But our commitment is about more than just financing. That's a critical piece of it. We're also going to support solutions across the board. In the lead up to this gathering, the United States joined our G7 partners to launch a Build Back Better World initiative. We also reconvened the Major Economies Forum on Energy and Climate to launch transformative actions and to raise ambition. And together with the European Union, we're launching a global methane pledge to collectively reduce methane emissions, one of the most potent greenhouse gases, by at least 30% by the end of the decade. More than 70 countries have already signed up to support rapid reduction of methane pollution, and I encourage every nation to sign on. It's the simple, most effective strategy we have to slow global warming in the near term.
That's true.
My friends, if we're to recognize that a better, more hopeful future of every nation has to do its part, with ambitious targets to keep 1.5 degrees in reach, and specific plans on how to get there, especially the major economies. It's imperative that we support developing nations so they can be our partners in this effort. Right now, we're still falling short. There's no more time to hang back or sit on the fence or argue amongst ourselves. This is the challenge of our collective lifetimes, the existential threat to human existence as we know it. And every day we delay, the cost of inaction increases.
True.
So let this be the moment that we answer history's call here in Glasgow. Let this be the start of a decade of transformative action that preserves our planet and raises the quality of life for people everywhere. We can do this. We just have to make a choice to do it. So let's get to work, and thank you. Those of us who are responsible for much of the deforestation and all the problems we have so far have an overwhelming obligation to the nations who, in fact, were not there, have not done it. And we have to help much more than we have thus far. God bless you all, and may God save the planet. Thank you.
Yeah. Okie dokie. That was a bit frustrating. Well, the things that he said are relatively true in the sense that this is the challenge of, a historic turning point. This is an inflection point. Our actions will determine what happens in the future. The problem I'm having here is we don't have legislation on board, okay? We can't even get the own Democratic Party to fall in line and pass the necessary legislation that he's talking about. These are just words at the end of the day. I'm confused. Is the Supreme Court hearing the Texas abortion argument right now, or is it rerun on C-SPAN? I think that it is hearing it today. I thought it was November 1st, right? They recently changed the way the flood insurance works in the U.S. to make waterfront property less worth having because they've accepted that flooding is inevitable. Yep, a lot of investment firms have already considered the financial impact. They call it climate risk, and they already are factoring that in. His own party is shutting down efforts to do anything meaningful. Exactly. Hey, Thinking Saber Cat, how's it going? Hey, Here's some news. Predictions show parts of South London could be underwater or regularly flooded by 2030. Still think we have a lot of time left? Anyways, we've got two articles to go that are really important, so I'm just gonna speed run this. Just end this one right here. It's really rich, from a person who claims to be a champion of free speech and all this other stuff, and ends up, you know, actually not allowing people to testify in court because free speech. That's a meme. Free speech is only valid if it's the free speech that I like, according to Ron DeSantis. According to Ron DeSantis, free speech is okay as long as it's the speech that I like. Seems to be like a consistent thing with this guy, doesn't it? I would also like to point out he is up for election. Re-election. California recently launched a huge program to pay coastal property owners to leave because of the inevitable erosion on the coastline. Yikes. I believe Biden will try. I mean, try is not really the answer we need, especially when his party is the one in control, relatively speaking. Anyways, TLDR, nice meme. Vote this guy out. Further ironic, they're blocking them from testifying about restrictions on voting, which itself is a form of speech, which is the entire argument of this Bub Dragon. How's it going? Yeah. Nice meme, Ron DeSantis. Right, there is no try. There is only do or catastrophe. There's only do or catastrophe. There is no try. The actions and inactions that are done or not done here and now are the ones that will dictate and determine what happens. Anyways, Ron DeSantis, nice meme. If you're in Florida, vote him out, please. Right, it's a degree at this point. Yeah, of course. I mean, we're seeing unprecedented weather events that are just becoming the new norm, but like, I mean the higher end of the models where, you know, we have islands disappearing, entire coastal cities disappearing, new coastal lines like miles and miles out. So yeah, anyone talking about massive flood mitigation projects and desalination plants? I haven't. Yeah. The best we got here, especially in South Florida, that is incredibly susceptible to the challenges of climate change. This is like ground zero when talking about like climate change, and in the U.S., Florida is like basically patient zero of how things can play out, because we're gonna have massive flooding increases. Our coastal areas are gonna be gone. And hurricanes are going to be a massive problem, and our water supply is going to be continued to be threatened by saltwater intrusion, which is already, it's been a thing, but it's going to be incredibly compromised even further. I mean, California needs to build a huge dam across the South Florida Bay to prevent the entire Central Valley from flooding. It seems like we need to start that yesterday. Yeah, well, decades ago. And all we got here in Florida is like a measly seawall that's like a couple of feet high. Yeah. Nice meme. The best we got is like a seawall that's a couple of feet high. An alarming prediction that hundreds of thousands of homes in South London could be frequently underwater in just 10 years have shocked residents. Vast areas of the boroughs along sides of dams could be flooded regularly by 2030. Yeah, so this is what we're looking at. Below water level is the red area. The red area is basically underwater. Yikes, Quinn better. Sea level is already guaranteed to rise by 5 feet, climate scientists say. Based on the amount of greenhouse gases humans have already added to the Earth's atmosphere, the world is guaranteed to experience approximately 5 feet of sea level rise in the coming decades. Climate scientist Benjamin Strauss said in the Climate Crisis podcast, it's in the range, 5 feet plus or minus, and that's because we've already warmed the planet around 2 degrees Fahrenheit or 1.1 Celsius. The president and CEO of Climate Central, a nonprofit, tries to educate policymakers and the public about the threats posed by climate change, told Yahoo News. Think of it this way, if I dumped a truckload of ice in the middle of Phoenix, we all know it's going to melt, but it takes time to melt. The same thing is true for the big ice sheets in Greenland and Antarctica and glaciers around the world. We turned up the thermostat and we've already heated the planet by a couple of degrees, but they've only begun to respond by melting. And that's why we have all this extra sea level in the pipeline, and it's enough, I'm afraid to say, it's hard to imagine the long-term future of South Florida, let's say. Nice meme. That's already in the pipeline. Mind you, a lot of these things are locked in. However, we can determine what happens on the flip side. That's right, Quinn Better. Strauss, who has testified before Congress on the number of American houses that would be threatened due to sea level rise caused by climate change, noted that the current estimates are that the seas will rise 2 to 3 feet by the end of the century and will continue rising in the decades to follow. Yet the fact that the roughly 5 feet of sea level rise has already been baked into the planet's future is, for Strauss, more incentive for the world to come together to prevent that figure from creeping even higher. I think we can help ourselves a lot by slowing these changes. Yeah, no kidding. No kidding, that we don't have, much of a choice there, do we? We don't really have much of a choice. Global temperatures are on the rise and have been for decades. Step inside the data and see the magnitude of climate change. Yes, we know, especially we've seen and read and dived deep into the IPCC report. So yeah, I mean, there is no if, and, or buts about the science. There is no if, and, or buts about where we are going. And failure to act will put us in the more catastrophic side of climate change. But hey, we got nice platitudes from Joseph R. Biden Jr. We got nice platitudes. Washington, D.C. is going to have to be moved. True. Yeah, Denver's going to have to be the new capital. Not good. Not good. The time for action is here and now. This is the turning point. This is, as has been said multiple times, maybe humans will have to learn the hard way. I hope not. I hope that we can avoid that. That's the idea. I mean, that's the idea, because the alternative is a lot of suffering. That's as plainly as I can speak. Expanse has a giant wall around all Manhattan. Yikes. Bezos is ready. Yeah, but all your billions, all your wealth isn't going to save you. It'll only give you time and a leg up, but it's not going to save you. It's not going to save you. I always think of this clip from Newsroom. Send it to me, Material Squirrel, and we'll... I agree with you, but Twitch doesn't pass the laws. True. If only. If only. If only. But you know what Twitch can do? Continue to advocate for the mobilization. And Twitch is a place where people can come together and understand what's happening and hopefully translate that and do action.
And on the report, pretend you're an expert witness, and I'm your lawyer.
Sounds good.
With a growing consensus among
Stand by,
environmental
camera
experts
one.
that the 450
Oh, this is a
parts per
movie?
million will soon be crossed.
Oh,
The question
yeah.
remains, how will we respond?
And joining us now in studio is Richard Westbrook, Deputy Assistant Administrator of the EPA. Welcome.
Thank you.
Mr. Westbrook, you've spent most of your professional career as a climate scientist in the public sector.
Yes, 10 years as a...
Yeah. It's kind of like this. I can't really watch most of it because DMCA and all that. But yeah, it's basically this. It's from a show? Gotcha. People are still debating COVID. True. Oh, it's all good. It's all good. Amaranth is the new God Emperor. True. I think they're referring to the clip from the pilot episode. Ah. I do enjoy this channel. Thank you. Appreciate that. Is that available like on Netflix or something? Is there a way we can watch that? Oh, HBO. Oof. Yikes. That's right. Important phone numbers to note about your representatives and senators. I think I need to make that a command. That poor actor can never escape his role in The Office. There's a famous clip from the first episode where Jeff Daniels explains why is America the greatest country. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the famous clip that I remember. That's right. That's right. The problem with Jon Stewart was refreshing. Lots of people complaining about the lack of humor, but I love his serious side. Yeah. Jon Stewart has a does have a serious side. No, not even comedy will save us now. Just action. Yeah, so if this isn't ringing alarm bells, then I don't know what will. It does when people work together and are committed. That part is true. People have to work together and be committed to push for the change that is necessary. Yeah. Alright folks, it is 11:22. I do have to get going, get my work computer set up. As always, I do appreciate all of you guys hanging out. Thank you, Darknet. Thank you, Spread It Forward. Thank you, Benjamin Dixon for the raid. Thank you to all the new follows. Thank you for the support. And thank you for the offline follow, Comrade Correspondent. I appreciate that. Folks, don't forget, if you guys enjoy the content, don't forget to hit the follow button on your way out. Don't forget to also join us on Facebook, on YouTube. Don't forget to do the YouTubes, like, comment, share, and subscribe. Exclamation Discord to keep up with the channel. Of course. Exclamation YT. To join the YouTubes. Good. Be good to yourselves in chat. True. I don't know how much, I don't know Twitch isn't much better than Facebook, is it? Like, it's a platform that anyone can say nonsense. True. It's like the opinion and views of some. You include it. I don't think it should be the primary news source. True. Especially if it's unsighted material. Does Twitch police their platform more than Facebook? Or the fact that I don't have a friends list spewing garbage is just preventing from seeing the lies. It all depends, Patrad. It all depends. It all depends. But everything and anything that a talking head says, especially if they're related to opinions, not like a news article, should always be scrutinized. That's just kind of a par for the course. Critical thinking is important. Media analysis is important. On that note, thank you guys so much. I appreciate it. As always, please stay safe. Please take care of each other. I love you all, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. See ya! Hang tight, folks. Oh, Anna the Nugget is about to start. I think we might be coming in just in time. I haven't rated Anna the Nugget in quite some time. Alright, folks, we're heading out in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here we go.